Oh. Oh. Sairam, everyone. Just to recollect what we discussed last week, Swami is telling that the Gita provides us the means of learning the Sanatana Dharma, and also to be able to spread to this entire world the joy of knowing the Paramatman. And so we, as anyone who considers themselves a Bharatiya, has to listen to the words of the Gopala. And that holds the key to how we can experience the Lord in everything in this world, through every sense organ we have. And through that process, we can attain the Lord. These were the words which we discussed last week. So I will ask sisters to continue from where we left off. Sai Ram, sisters.
Arjuna's despondency at having to fight Krishna's teaching, beginning with chapter 2, verse 11. Krishna Arjuna become Guru disciple. The first chapter is better named Arjuna Gita rather than Krishna Gita. Overcome by sorrow and delusion, Arjuna turns from war and keeps his weapons aside. He is dejected in his chariot, halted between the two opposing forces. He turns this way and that, puzzled and perturbed. He surveys the faces of his kith and kin. He is overcome by pity. His famous bow slips from his grasp, and he is too weak to stand or even sit. His mind wanders into the dictates of the Purva Mimamsa school of thought, a theology that interprets the action ritual-oriented portion of the Vedas. He swears he will not engage in fighting. When Sanjaya reported this to the blind king Dhritarashtra, the king was overjoyed, for victory was within grasp. He had neither foresight nor farsight, much less divine vision. So he felt happy that his dream of an undiminished empire had come true without bother. But Sanjaya, who had divine vision, felt, what is the insane joy that is affecting him, when the Lord himself is on the side of Pandavas? How can this king's wicked plan succeed? Then he pictured himself the ghastly consequences of Arjuna jumping into the fray.
Thank you, sister. Swami is talking to us about the first chapter in the Gita. Just giving some inkling of what happened. And I think he's comparing the ignorance of Dhritarashtra with what the Sanjaya can see. That as long as the Lord is there with the Pandavas, Adharma cannot take any victory for granted. I think that's what it is. So I will stop here. If anyone wants to comment or ask anything, please go ahead. Sai.
Sairam, in the first paragraph, in the very last sentence, it says that his mind wanders into the dictates of the Purva Mimamsa school of thought, the theology that interprets the action and ritual-oriented portion of the Vedas. So that Purva Mimamsa school of thought, it says that don't fight, or maybe if there is a fight, then you give up, or that sort of school of thought. So is there any little bit of explanation on that Purva Mimamsa school of thought?
Okay, thank you very much, sister. I will ask anyone else, Auntie, Mani Auntie, you want to say anything, or anyone else would like to share anything?
If anyone wants to go ahead, let them go ahead. I think I can speak afterwards also. No problem. Okay.
Anyone? Auntie, you go ahead, Auntie.
Okay. This Purva Mimamsa school of thought, that's one philosophy which we have. There are 6 names of philosophy which I can say. That is Sankhya, Yoga, then Nyaya, Vaisheshika, and the third group is Purva Mimamsa, Uttara Mimamsa. These are the 6 schools of philosophy in Indian thought. So this Purva Mimamsa is mostly, it describes the rituals that were supposed to follow in the Vedas. That is Brahmana. In the second portion of the Vedas, all rituals are prescribed for us. This, if this ritual is done, you are going to get this. If this ritual is not done, you have to face this situation. So all these in very, very detailed interpretation of the rituals is given. So Arjuna is taking shelter in that ritualism, which says that maybe this killing of your own gurus and your cousins is going to cause you some, it's going to give you a bad result. That's what I think he feels that, and he's taking shelter in that interpretation, and he says, I'm not going to engage in fighting. I think this is the thing what I have understood, especially Purva Mimamsa is reverentially, it describes the rituals given in the Vedas. That's what I have understood.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Auntie. Anyone else would like to share any thoughts, please? Thank you very much, Auntie. Sister Anandi, you're okay?
Yeah.
Okay,
thank you so much, Mani Auntie. That gives me some maybe underlying reason why Swami has indicated here. Yeah. Because maybe the Arjuna, he was worried about these, his action and the consequences in accordance with the rituals, the oriented, the consequences, written in the Vedas. So that's why he was really puzzled and perturbed. Yeah. Thank you so much, Auntie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sairam, Auntie, would you be able to just quickly explain each of those 6 philosophies? Like what?
that will take a lot.
Okay.
The whole year. No, Arun will just summarize it. He will summarize it for you.
Yeah, Kalyani, I think we can have a separate session with the Shat Darshanas, okay? Because they are called Shat Darshanas. You can read up. And there are some discourse of Swami on Shat Darshanas. Maybe I think we should use that. I will send you the link if you are interested.
Sure.
Mhm.
Okay, I think that's the best. As Auntie said, each of them has certain intricacies. See, they all follow various logic in trying to unravel the mystery of existence. Okay. I will send it to you, so I think it's better. See, one thing is to say whatever I have understood to say. It is second thing is to listen and study it properly. I would rather do that. You can just say, I will send you the link. Okay. I myself am not prepared. I don't want to just say out of my memory. It's not the best. I think as things stand, Purva Mimamsa is Uttara Mimamsa, the most important one, because they discuss Vedas. Okay. As Auntie has already said, Purva Mimamsa discusses the Karma Kanda of the Veda. So according to Purva Mimamsa, life is endless. At the most, you can become a deva or something like that. You can't even liberate yourself because the karma, you are caught in this karma. And what is the best karma you can do? That is mainly the Purva Mimamsa philosophy. We exist separately. I think similar is Shaiva Siddhanta and all of them. They have the Ajivatman always remains Jivatman. Okay, something of that sort you can say. So I will leave it at that, but I will send. So whatever Arjuna is saying, here after Swami is going to go through, is all related to Purva Mimamsa. I will stop it at that if it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So is Uttara Mimamsa then, is that like where the Advaita, Vedanta, all of that is?
That is Advaita is Uttara Mimamsa.
Oh, okay.
Vedanta.
That is the Vedanta. See, Uttara Mimamsa is Vedanta, which is what Krishna is going to. The entire Gita is Uttara Mimamsa.
Okay.
I would say, okay, but though Krishna refers to some other aspects of Karma Kanda also, but it's predominantly Vedanta, which is Upanishad, the essence of Upanishads. Okay.
And what does the word Purva and Uttara mean?
Purva means earlier and Uttara is latter part, I think. Auntie, is that good translation?
Prior.
And then prior and latter.
Later, that's the. But actually, in those days, during Vedic age, lots of rituals were followed. Lots of rituals, especially in Veda, the second portion after Samhita, the second portion where it prescribes all the rituals for every stage of our life. So it becomes too much. Actually, one of the lectures which I was listening to, they prescribe even to how to keep the dharba, the grass which is used for the yajna, how to keep them on the Vedika. That's this way, that way. It doesn't matter for us. But in those days, rituals were done. If you keep this way, it will happen like this. If we keep that way, it will happen something like else will happen. So these rituals, of course, to an extent we can follow, but if it becomes too much, then that is why it led to the next portion of Aranyaka and Vedanta. People started thinking about Upanishads. We are not going to end with rituals. We have to go deeper into it and understand what this tattva, that Atma tattva is, and what is Paramatman. So they went to the last portion, that is Upanishads. Thank you, Saira.
Thank you.
Saramana, would you share with us as well this, if Swami's discourse on those?
Yeah, I will. So I will. We'll email it to you all.
Thank
It's
you.
okay. Okay. Yes. Because otherwise I will. If people are interested, what we can do is we can take it up as a short study with Swami's discourses if you all want, but it may just, it will just take us away slightly from where we are with the Gita. Because
it is very necessary for all of us to understand what Swami says about Shat Darshana.
Yes. So I will send the discourses. If people are interested, we can do a short one week. We can just study the Shad Darshanas if it's okay. As Auntie said, it may not be sufficient, but I will send the discourse. There are 2 or 3 discourses where Swami has discussed, but I will send it. Okay, sure. Okay. Because see, actually, if though Swami has, 1 or 2 discourses Swami has talked about the Shad Darshanas, it is just for academic interest. Swami is fully Uttaramimamsa, which is Vedanta, Advaita, and so on. But I will send it anyway. It's good, actually, good to know the background, very important. Okay, Sai. So if anyone else has anything, otherwise we will just move on to the next slide, if it's okay.
But Arjuna had teardrops falling down his cheeks. There were whirlpools in his eyes. Even the Lord could not bear the sight. He could not remain silent. He felt Arjuna's pulse beat and diagnosed the malady. He knew in a trice that the malady of delusion caused by false evaluation had penetrated his 3 bodies, the gross, the subtle, and the causal. He saw that the pity that enveloped Arjuna was not genuine. For genuine pity will be endowed with divine elevating impulses and motives. It will not disregard the orders of the Lord. Egotism was really under this veil of pity. So the Lord decided to cure him of that weakness. Arjuna was helplessly overwhelmed by pity. Kripaya Vistam. The Gita says that had to be cured. Just as spirit entering the person has to be exercised, Arjuna had to be freed from fear and cowardice. People who have the Lord by their side need entertain no fear. What can any spirit do to one who is the Lord of all the 5 elements? Buddha. The Lord is the supreme doctor. Narayana was the doctor of Arjuna, needed and got. How lucky Arjuna was. Even from the depths of grief, joy will swell. Until the 11th verse of 2nd chapter, it is story of despondency of Arjuna, the effect of the possession. That is why the first step in the cure is the exposition of Sankhya Yoga, the path of spiritual knowledge, jnana.
Okay, thank you very much. So one of the Shad Darshanas is Sankhya. So chapter 2, actually, Krishna talks about it. Swami will also talk about it. I think that will be interesting. It's one of the yoga, because Sankhya is counting the number of tattvas and so on. Swami will go on, I think, about 24 tattvas. So the Sankhya Yoga will be covered, okay, for anyone. Nyaya, Vaisheshika, and yoga is covered to some extent. Nyaya and Vaisheshika, I think, has not covered much, but okay. So Swami is explaining. I think Swami is talking about the Kripaya Vishtam, okay, which is pity, overwhelmed by pity. It seems like compassion, but it is not. Okay, it's pity, and so Swami is talking about that. And so I will stop here. If anyone has something to say, please go ahead.
I have a question about this pity. Pity in Telugu Swami's translation, it is Kanikaramu. Kanikaramu, Swami says in the beginning.
I see.
Is it showing pity on the opposite side of his, the relatives, or it is self-pity? I did not. Kripaya Vishtam, he is overcome by Kripaya. So is it self-pity? Out of self-pity he is sorry.
Kanikaram. So I think the auntie's question is it self-pity or it's pity on other people? I think that's the question I think auntie is going to miss. Anyone else has something to say, please?
Sorry about it. Please let me know. Is it self-pity or the pity that he shows for his gurus and cousins?
Auntie, the Kanikaramu, the dictionary gives the meaning as daya.
Daya. So daya and
so it's compassion, but it is not compassion, well-placed compassion. So that becomes pity. Because I think in this, yeah, there is ego involvement, there is some degree of self-pity also exists, but it's more out of the suffering of others that he is troubled. It's my understanding.
Yeah.
Because so Swami is giving for genuine pity will be endowed with divine elevating impulses and motives. It will not disregard the orders of the Lord. Swami is again the word genuine pity is actually again compassion, which is what I think should have been the translation. But anyways.
No, can you explain further about this question of he saw that the pity that enveloped Arjuna was not genuine.
Yes, because the egotism was really under the veil of pity.
Okay. Egotism. Yeah. I think it is in Telugu. Swami has given a very good thing.
Auntie, why don't you just read it once?
Yeah. 1 minute. కృష్ణ పరమాత్మ నిమిషంలో తెలుసుకున్నాడు. అయితే అర్జునునకు ప్రవేశించిన కృప నిజమైనది కాదనియు, అట్లు నిజమైనది అయిన ఉంటే అది దైవీ సంపదకు చేరి ఉండును. అట్టిది భగవంతుని ఉండేది కాదనియు, కృప అను బుర్కాను వేసుకొచ్చిన మమకారమనియు గ్రహించి కృష్ణ పరమాత్మ దానిని సంస్కరించుటకు పూనుకొనను. తరువాత కృపయా విష్ణుం, కృపచేత ఆవేశింపబడిన వాడంటూ పదప్రయోగము జరిగినది. So it is the veil, burqa, that Muslim women wear that burqa. So he says it is kripa is a burqa which has covered his intellect. Saira.
Yeah, underneath there's mamakaram, that is mine. The sense of mine is the one which is under that veil of pity. I think there are a couple of things, because Arjuna feels that he can kill them. Okay, he is the one who is going to kill them, and that is why he is troubled by it, number one. So I think that's why Swami is saying egoism to some extent, and mamakara means my people. Swami has used the word mamakaram, so that they belong to him. Some of these people who are going to die. And so Swami says that pity is because of his relationship to them is the reason. And so that's...
Saira, I was just a bit confused about how here I think it says the malady of delusion caused by false evaluation, and in the book it says moha. So how the moha can penetrate into the causal body? I can understand it penetrates the gross and the subtle, but how does it penetrate even the causal body?
Yeah, that's a question.
Okay, anyone would like to discuss? So just to Kalyani, the thing is, as once we are enveloped by ignorance, from what I understand, we all experience a causal body every day or every night. We are asleep. Okay. So though the causal body exists, it is asleep. Okay. To some extent, that is ignorance, because that is not awake yet. So the causal body, which is for a Jivatman, the causal body is ignorant and it's asleep.
Sit down. Sit down.
Shivani, please. Okay. Okay.
So from what I understand, the causal body in a person who is not a jnani, ajnani, that is also always engulfed. So that is when we are asleep, we know that we are not aware. So that means the same way when we are awake also, in the Jagrata state also, the causal body is actually asleep. So asleep with the veil of ignorance. If that, because if the causal body is fully awake, the mind and the other bodies will be just closed shut. It will overpower. So that is my understanding. Okay. So even though we have Vijnanamaya Kosha, we have Buddhi, but our Buddhi is not functioning as well as it should. Why it is? Because it is just lost its sharpness. Okay, I think that's the reason. So that's why I think Moha can get into the Jivatma, veiling the Jivatma. Okay.
Okay, so that's kind of our constant state. Like our constant state is our gross, subtle, and causal body are always covered up by this Moha.
Sairam, delusion has penetrated into all his three bodies, he says, which is for gross body, subtle body, and causal. So we can understand gross body because, because of the delusion, he is not able to see the reality. He is completely covered by moha. And then in the subtle body, he feels that emotionally, he feels that he is committing a lot of sin by killing his gurus, his cousins, everyone who should be respected rather than be killed. So that is the subtle body. At the level of subtle body, he feels emotionally he is committing a lot of sin. And in the causal body, what I understand is, by doing certain acts, we are collecting some vasanas. The vasana is in the form of a seed, which is in the causal body, which takes us to the next birth. So he must be worrying. Of course, he, physically he is feeling very sad about killing his gurus. And the subtle level, he is emotionally upset because I am committing a lot of mistake, a lot of sin. And in the third, the causal body, he worries about the future, what is going to happen. He is collecting sins in the form of vasanas. The vasanas are going to be in the causal body. So I think, I understand like this. Yes. Hope it serves the purpose.
Yes, Auntie. Thank you.
Thank you, Saira. Arun, you can further explain what.
Yes, Auntie. Yeah, you have explained. That's good. Yeah, which is basically in the waking state, our sense of ignorance. Of worried and fear, as Auntie has said, of what will happen in the future, because you are using your intellect to some extent to analyze. But that analysis also is a bit faulty because of the past vasanas and things like that. So that's why our causal body, even when we are awake, is not at its best.
Sairam, I have maybe question or little clarification on the next sentence. I don't know whether I am right or maybe the little confused. So the pittiness, according to this para, it's two types, genuine pittiness or maybe false pittiness, or the opposite to the genuine pittiness. Swami says that genuine pity will not disregard the orders of the Lord. In this particular case, I believe Arjuna has got the maybe false fitness. That's why Swami says that Swami decided to cure him of that weakness. So the false pittiness and the egoism is the same thing, or maybe it's two different things. Here it says egotism was really under this veil of pity. So false pity, sometimes we always think the pity about the other things. So the genuine pittiness, it will not disregard the orders of the Lord. But if we confused, and maybe even we confuse other people, so we have the egotism or the false pittiness. That's why it is regarded as a weakness.
Thank you very much, sister. You have answered the question and you have asked the question also, I think. But I will open it up for...
my interpretation is correct or not. That's why I asked as a question.
So I will open it up for discussion. Others can share what you think you understand from this. I guess no one is saying anything. So the thing is, sister, Swami is giving two clarifications for or explanations for what is genuine pity, which is compassion, kripa. The word Swami has used kripa, I think, daya. So one Swami says it will have divine elevating impulses and motives. For example, if we find somebody suffering or something like that, if it gives us elevating impulses and motives, we will not be depressed. We will be able to help with some optimism. Okay. That is because even if we don't have the power, we should have the power, we should have the faith that the Lord will help us, help the situation. Okay. So optimism, I think optimism, wanting joy, all of that also should be welling within us if there is genuine compassion. Generally, what happens is if we feel powerless, if we feel helpless by seeing something, that means we are not even recognizing the presence of the Lord in our lives. Okay, that means you have just disregarded God completely because you think he doesn't have a role to play. Only then we will have pity, which will make us weak. But the situation which Arjuna faced, he cried and everything was falling down. He dropped his bow, everything happened. His body became very weak. He couldn't stand. All the actually in Telugu, I think Swami is the previous paragraph, I think Swami. So the thing is, it has completely weakened him. That means he is disregarded the Lord himself, or he's not even looking to the Lord for direction. So I think that's what I understand. So I think, for example, when we do seva, Swami says you all do a lot of seva, but if you think you are the doer, then that doesn't become seva. The whole purpose of us engaging seva activities is to learn that in practice, that we are serving the Lord and the Lord is helping us serve him through other people. Okay, so we will not be weakened by that situation. I think that's my understanding. So I hope that's my, I don't know whether it's right or wrong, as Auntie would say, but others can share your thoughts, please. Sai.
Anandi's question that it is genuine pity or false pity. I think you are right, Anandi, Sister Anandi. So here it's mamakara. Egotism is translated as mamakara. Because he was feeling that they are all mine and I am not going, I cannot kill them. That feeling of Arjuna is egotism. And he is as if he is showing a false pity, saying that, oh, I'm very sorry to kill them. Such kind of feeling is also coming to him. So it is false pity. As Arun said, if it is genuine pity, it should be elevating. It should be giving us a lot of joy. But here, it's opposite is taking place. Arjuna is completely despondent. He doesn't want to fight the war. So the difference between false pity and then genuine pity, I think it is explained very well by Arun. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I understand that even Arjuna was the really very warrior, and he can win, but he has the brother Aruna nicely explained that because of his egotism, I can win all of them, but I don't want to do that because of all of them are either my gurus or maybe my close relatives. That kind of egotism, Swami thought that it's not good. It's really a weakness rather than the strength. Now I understand that. Yeah.
Okay, sister.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. We can move. Yeah.
Anyone else has something? If not, we will move to the next slide. I think other two are pretty straightforward. I think the Lord is trying to diagnose, and he wants to exorcise, chase the spirit away. And Swami says,
Bhuta Pishachalu. Swami
yes.
says, Bhuta Pretalu. Bhuta Preta. Swami says, Pravinchinatu Arjunaku Krupa ane Pishachamu Aveshinchinadi. In Telugu, Swami is talking
I know
about.
it's not well translated, Auntie. Basically, Swami is saying it is possessed by a spirit.
Spirit.
And
Yeah.
that spirit has to be exorcised. And
yeah, so the supreme doctor is Narayana. Vaidyo Narayano Harihi.
And he's getting to do the job.
Brother, Sairam,
Sairam.
just a question. The despondency of Arjuna, the effect of the possession. So only you think the possession caused the despondency?
Yes.
That includes everything. Am I right? I am trying to understand that because.
Yeah, there is a small amount of selfishness is also there. It is not only delusion, moha, the selfishness is also there, mamakara.
So
and
despondency caused only by possession, like that, right?
Possession of a bag, that that the thing, ignorance. Ignorance is the
possession is this ignorance they are describing, or something else also. I'm trying to which
some ghost, sister, some ghost. That's what Swami says in the Telugu. A spirit has gotten hold of Arjuna. See, I think one of the, then I think the next question many people ask is it true that spirits take hold of people? I think that's what the next question is.
Yes, that's also a question.
Is it true, or does it really happen? Those are questions we ask ourselves. I think Swami has answered those. The influence of anyone else in this world is they are taking hold of you. Even your thought, somebody else's thought, when it influences you, actually they have taken possession of you.
Oh.
When we are weak, even when somebody's words can take possession of us. That means that person indirectly is holding us, making us do what they want us to do. You can call it brainwash, whatever it is. you are under the influence of somebody else. Okay, it is not a physical holding in somebody entering into, but that influences that person's spirit. Means there is an the person. We are not restricted to just our body. Our subtle body actually is capable of reaching out outside. Our words, if it has entered somebody, our spirit also has entered that person. If we have looked at somebody, our spirit has entered that person. So we don't, that is the way Sanatana Dharma looks at energy exchange of people. You know, there are stories of, you know, when Lakshmana passes through a part of the forest with Rama, suddenly he got upset and he was scolding, speaking harshly with Rama. And Rama says, come, come. And they walk a little further. And then Arjuna, Lakshmana is after that, he calms down and he falls and he apologizes. And then he asks, why did it happen? Then Rama says, when you're passing through that, the influence of that space has taken over your own thinking. So it is not a physical holding, taking possession. Certain thoughts take over our thinking. That means they have taken hold of us. Okay, so that's my understanding, sister. So any negative thoughts, you know, we are all gathered from somewhere. If Arjuna is telling something, these are thoughts which he has gathered somewhere. And that has now taken hold, and the Lord's thought has to come and push those thoughts away. Okay. And then that is the only way you are freed.
Yeah, because that second sentence covers that. Yeah, with the spiritual knowledge, they can come out. Yeah. Thank you, Sairam.
Modern medicine has an explanation saying that, you know, they are psychiatric patients. And yeah, that is what in olden days, spirits used to take place. As Arun said, you know, spirits used to influence our brain, and then we would behave in a different way, not our own, in a different way. And I have seen people behaving like that in Parti and Swami. I don't know whether I should share it or not in public. Anyway, I'll stop at it.
So, brother, here's then we shouldn't hold any possession. Then only that's what causing all the problem, right? That's the despondency is coming from possession. So we shouldn't hold anything.
So then I think the question is, how do we avoid that? As the next question we can ask. I think there are later on Swami is talking about. For example, you know, I don't know whether people realize everything which we eat has spirits coming along with that. You know that according to Sanatana Dharma, the Vedic tradition, all living beings enter another body through food. So the thing is, whenever we are eating, some of the grains or, you know, food can have living beings which travel through us and out. And you may ask, oh, how can it be? The reality, in our own body, there are so many bacteria, they are all living organisms. So the thing is, we are not, there's not only one soul, one living being in our body. There are millions living here. There are millions who are passing through us. So that is why when you eat certain kinds of food, those thoughts will come without your knowledge, because some of those thoughts are passing through us. This is the whole idea of, you know, why you should pray, why you should be very careful with the type of food you eat. All these practices came, you know, you don't touch people, you don't, you know, untouchability has become a problem. But Brahmins were asked not to touch people, because that way you can retain your purity of thought, which is necessary for you to be able to guide other people. Okay, generally a Brahmana is supposed to be able to help other people when they have problems. But if that person is also tainted with the same virus, if you want to put it that way, that person will not be able to treat the other person. So it is like, you know, when you go to hospital now, you are asked to, you know, take all the precautions. You won't touch anyone without a pair of gloves. It's not because of untouchability. It is just that the doctor or whoever has to scrub, and they have to maintain their cleanliness so that they can go and treat somebody in the ICU. Okay, so it is that kind of thinking was inculcated. And that's why food takes a big role, because you don't know what is passing through you. The prana contained in that food can house living beings, life itself. So that is one of the theories which go on. So the thoughts come in. That's a Bhishma, for example, is telling, I think Swami may be talking about, when after the Mahabharata war, when he was on the bed of arrows, and Krishna takes the Pandavas and he's giving a lecture on dharma. And at that time, Draupadi laughs, and everyone is upset, and Bhishma says, no, Draupadi, why did you laugh? And then she says, you are teaching my husbands who have good knowledge of dharma and they practice, but you should have done this to the Kauravas when you were there with them. And he says, at that time, because of the food I ate, which was provided by them, I was not myself, and I was not in my possession of my senses. I could not talk. So when it can happen to somebody like Bhishma, Swami has mentioned this story many times. So when it can happen to a person, he was taken possession of certain other thoughts, a great person like Bhishma. So this is, sorry, a bit of a digression, but you asked about possession. So I thought I will touch upon that, because Swami has very clearly spoken about it.
Thank you very much.
That is why Patra Shuddhi, Paka Shuddhi. They call it Patra Shuddhi and Paka Shuddhi.
And Padartha Shuddhi.
Oh, yeah, that is very much important for a person to partake any food which is provided by others. Sairam.
Can you just translate that?
Yeah, Patra Shuddhi means,
Vessel.
you're just
Cooking vessel.
The vessel. The receiving person also, he is the Patra.
Receiving person. He's also Patra.
He should be pure, and even Paka Shuddhi. While cooking, what vessel you use also must be clean. That is the Paka Shuddhi, Patra Shuddhi.
So three things. Padartha Shuddhi is the things which you cook.
Yeah,
Paka Shuddhi is the process of cooking. And Patra is, as Auntie said, all the vessels, including the person who is the vessel.
Going to receive it.
Patra Shuddhi, Padartha Shuddhi. I think so. There's another chapter Swami is covering those three anyway. So
in that example with Bhishma, I mean, was he really accepting food from the Kauravas? Because wasn't he like the grandsire? Wasn't he older than all of them? Like, why is it that he was under the impression that he's getting food from them?
He was employed by them, isn't it? So the thing is, the means of his livelihood came from the Duryodhanas, because he was the king. Yes, he was the grandfather, but he was all his means, all his food and every shelter was provided by the ruling class. It's so because of that, their cooks, the food was up, the provisions were supplied, the cooks were supplied, and he ate with them.
Surrounding also would have been affected in, right?
Brother, I'd like to add one more thing about the food. All the life started with the food, ending with the food too. Yes. Thank you, Sairam.
Yes. So that's why, where we are employed, who pays our salary, all that matters, as Swami says, the means of livelihood. So,
Brother, you said about salary, who paid the salary, all kind of things matter.
Yes.
Sometimes you go an employee, why you want to worry about it? Other person does all kind of things. You cannot see everything, right?
We can't wash our hands. So the reality, sister, to the extent possible, we can be careful, how we earn the livelihood. Like, about Padartha Shuddhi, Swami says, you go to the store and buy some vegetables. If it has been stolen by somebody and then sold, you are stuck with it. It will affect you. So that's why, you are supposed to do Brahmarpanam. It will reduce the effect, but you still have to go through what you have to go through.
It becomes a prasadam. When you say Brahmarpanam, it becomes a prasadam, purified. And Arun, you remember that story, you know, when a Brahmana goes to a this thing, Samaradhana, that is where the festival is taking place, and then he eats, and then he wants to steal that cow bowl which was given to him for eating. And then his friend says, "What are you doing now? You're stealing this vessel in which your food is served." Then they come to know the person who cooked that food on that day was a thief. So that I think I remember the story, not in detail, but I think so. This is
yes,
the
Auntie, yes. Swami has told the story. Okay. I think the spirit has taken hold of us too much, so we'll move on to the next.
I just want just one clarification. So
Yes.
Swami never uses the word pity. It's always kripa, which means compassion.
No, kripaya vishtam. So that, see, compassion and pity are very closely linked. Okay, when the compassion becomes the ego takes over, then it becomes self-pity and then self-pity also.
Okay.
We start out with compassion, but then slowly it deteriorates because of moha. It becomes pity. Okay, so I think that's what they are related feelings, but tainted with through egoism is pity, I think.
Kanikaramu is the best.
Kanikaramu, yes.
Kanikaramu. That is in Telugu or even in Sanskrit also. Kanikara is there.
So, Swami in the Telugu, I think Auntie read, Kripa Avesham. You know, Swami says. Avesham is something like, sudden
possession.
So it is not a genuine. So Avesham means, I don't know whether good translation is, sudden.
Avesh is hastiness. Avesh.
Avesham is
completely surrounded, not surrounded. You're engrossed.
Suddenly you are taken over. Okay, you are taken over by a feeling. So that means you become weak. If, for example, anger suddenly takes possession of you. The same way here also, pity also takes possession. Means it is not genuinely coming as such. I think Sister Shivani said, suddenness. A certain.
In Avesh, you take a certain decision.
Exactly.
When you become
without thinking.
Without thinking.
Kopavesham, the krodha takes over you, and then you decide something wrong. Avesham is to taken over by some wrong feeling.
I'm thinking of a good English word, but it's Kalyani. You want to ask something?
No, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, no, that's all. Impulsiveness or an impulsive compassion, you can say. It is not necessarily a proper compassion. Something you can say.
So in genuine compassion, we should not ever feel despondent, like even so. Yeah, that's so eye-opening, because sometimes if you are trying to help someone, like if you're in a service field and there's so many barriers in the system, you can feel like despondent. But I guess that means you're not realizing that the Lord is in charge of it all, and
because you do the best you can, and the rest the Lord does. As they say, a doctor can treat, but God cures. Okay, if the doctor tries to cure, then everything problems. From what I understand.
Sairam, brother. So one more thing, even before the war, the Pandavas and Lord Krishna, they all train Arjuna to go for the war, and he agreed. Even yesterday also you mentioned Lord Krishna took Arjuna to the jungle, and he saw the peacock, and he asked Arjuna, what is that? He said, it's a peacock. Then Lord Krishna said, no, that's not a peacock. There's some other bird. Then after that, Arjuna started to believe on Lord Krishna. Whatever he says, he knows he can change it to whatever the bird. So that means if you surrender fully thing, and he surrendered everything. So this process at the Kurukshetra, he changed the possession. So that is a conflict now. Thank you.
Even though he had that faith, brother, I think sometimes, something trips us, then we slip. I think something like that. I think Kalyani, whimsical also is another term you can use, You have compassion, but it's just a whim, not necessarily a genuine one. You understand? I don't know whether that's a good, I'm trying to translate the Avesham. Okay.
Can I share something?
Yes, sister, please go ahead.
I think you guys will be bored, but I won't take long. It just happened last week. When you are with the family, get together and all of that, it happened that there was a moment when I don't know how to explain, but it was a kind of insecurity, a feeling in me, and right away. And that's where I want to thank the study group circle, this study group. Since last year, we have started. And in 1 year, at least, I felt, if nothing else, I could remember his name right away. And the minute I felt, I could watch myself. I said, no, this is insecurity. He's the doer. And for 5-10 minutes, I was just reciting Om Shri Sai Ram. Believe me, the contentment, the peace I got. And I right away remembered the study circle. I said, if nothing else, this study circle gave me to remember his name. And I think I can relate here that though we know he's a doer, we forget because it takes a lot of practice to remember he's the doer, he's the doer. So I'm grateful this study circle that, if nothing else, at least I can remember him in time of my fear and insecurity. So it was really a great feeling that time.
Thank you, sister. Thank you. Okay,
sorry,
yes.
I just wanted to ask a clarifying question about what you were saying about we should be aware of where we get our salary from and all of those things. But no, just a theoretical question, like, okay, say there's a business person who provides a service or a product, and okay, like that product is very good or that service is very good, and you want to use it, but then you have a set, or you feel that maybe that person, the owner of that business, is not very good based on their behavior or something like that, then is it like, should we really be looking into all of that and avoiding certain businesses or avoiding certain places because of what we think that person, whether that person is good or bad? Because again, that's also, we're trying to judge somebody from the outside and can't really know.
Good question, sister. I will ask others to, what others think. These are all practical. There is no single solution for all of that. But I will ask others to comment on that.
Hi, Ram. I just wanted to thank Kalyani for asking that question because I had the same question.
I believe if it's unethical, I don't know good or bad person, but if it's unethical, the way the person is doing business is not ethical, then I will not do it. Because there was I don't know, it was in Geetha Vahini or Sunday Nivarni, when we heard that there was a guy in army and he said to Swami, my superior or captain, he's doing some unethical, but I can't do, otherwise I lose a job. So Swami said, then what is the faith you have on me? If it's unethical, you do not need to abide just to protect your job. I am there for you. You need to stand for, right and wrong. So it's not judging people, but the action is not right. That's the confidence Swami gave to him, that you need to remember that I am there for. I have taken birth to prevail this righteousness. So if somebody's doing unright thing and you're protecting your job just to support, oh, if I go against and my job will go, then that's not right. Something like that. I don't remember clearly, but I do remember something like that.
So, Sairam, brother, I can tell you another story. So, suppose if a TV is $1,000, if someone is selling for $300 using that bad credit card, somebody stolen credit card. If you buy that, what will happen? You may have to go to jail too, because you bought it from the person. So it will affect you too. That's a other example I can say. Thank you, Sairam.
Thank you.
Sairam, even in some of the products these days we buy, they would put in label ethically produced or ethically, ethical labor we have used in producing these products or something. That means that even that product is little bit expensive. They say that we didn't make this product unethically, maybe child labor, or we haven't used that sort of bad things in producing these products. That's why even in the modern world, some of the products they put it in the products marketing, or even in the label they wrap it up. They put that ethically produced the products. So that means that not only in the ancient time, modern times also, that they recognize but in the work environment currently, we cannot ask the employer, you earn this money ethically to give it to me. That is practically not at all workable. But when we but of course, Brother Dasan nicely put, if it is unreasonably low price, then we have to buy a product we have to think about. Definitely this product would have been stolen, or maybe some sort of under the table things would have happened to buying that product. Those things we can, we have the ability to avoid, but some things it's beyond our control, and we have to pray to God to lead us. Yeah.
Hi, I would based similar to what Sister Shivani mentioned, right? Because when you're working for a company, usually you can, you're not judging the person or judging the CEO, but the company values and company principles and what they stand for and what the company is about. Usually those things are shared, and if you're working and how it is done. And for example, I can say, because there are one of the companies I worked for was the CEO wasn't treating the employees well and things like that, and then you would it's not the right company to work for. Similar like that, you can make that judgment in that sense. So I guess that's what I would go by. Like Sister Shivani said, you're not judging a person per se, but the values and the principles and what it is stand for, and then you make a call on that. So that's my understanding on this.
Thank you. So you've answered. You asked. You said it's good that you answer.
Yes, listening to this kind of came to me. Sometimes,
Sometimes thinking along with, in a group makes answer our own question many times.
No.
Anyone else has something to add? So just to add, the thing is, ultimately we should, even to get us the right environment, the right people to work, we have to pray to the Lord. Okay, so in the Gita, actually God assures that if you are doing your sadhana, I will put you in the company of the people who will help you. Okay, so I think ultimately, if we pray to the Lord for that also, he will make sure that we are not in a situation where we have to make even those choices, because he will put you in situations where everything will be conducive, is my understanding. Even for that, you have to pray to him, because we ultimately, it's not in our hands. But I think God also expects us to do some parts. we can't, we can't understand everything 100% in this world, because our own level of understanding itself is very limited. But I think with the intelligence he has given us, he wants us to make some choices out of try to remove selfishness and things like that, I guess. Even if some we are working somewhere and they are making a ton of money, unethical means, we need to know what we are contributing, and as long as we take home what we think is just fair share, then I think we are okay. To that extent, we have limited our exposure to something unethical. So I think Swami always says, do you think how much you are making, and do you think you are giving back to the society the value of that money? Is a question which we have to ask. Swami has always said. We should not just look for, oh, I want more money, I want more money. You need to say, what are you giving? Is the money you are taking home as salary, is it commensurate with the what you are providing to the society? Is it a fair share? And anything over and above, you need to give away to other people.
Brother,
yes.
This is a question, because just based on what you have said now, right? You will pray for Swami to give this and that. You will do your part, and Swami won't take care of it, because you don't know what to ask, right? So you ask and you will get it.
You can ask for good circumstances, sister. You can ask for good company. You can ask for environment where you can continue sadhana. Those are, I think, things which we can ask, because it's not in our control to a great extent.
Thank you.
I think, of course, if you reach that state of not asking anything, of course, you don't need to ask anything.
Brother, if you ask something and you don't know what is Swami knows, if we ask something that based on our knowledge. So, but Swami knows whether to give or not. Then you don't pray for that, but you do his work. He will put you in that position. That's the way I looked at it. Thank you, Sairam.
Sairam, sister. I think we can always ask to get closer and closer to him. We can ask for him. And anything which will guarantee him, you can always ask for. I think that's, the desire for moksha, desire for God is okay. So I think we have exhaustively discussed. Can we read the next slide?
Krishna's immortality bestowing teaching begins from this 11th verse. In fact, the Bhagavad Gita starts from this point. Up to this point, it is the description of Arjuna's delusion born of ignorance and dullness of intellect. Krishna, acting the role of witness, allowed the despondency to deepen and darken. When at last Arjuna threw down his bow and refused to fight, when he confessed that he had lost all sense of right and wrong, when he prayed that Krishna should teach him the way that would best solve his problems, then Krishna came forward and said, Arjuna, how could this miserable shade of cowardice overtake you now, when you have been clear and bright all along? This is quite unbecoming to the hero you are. The word Arjuna means pure, unblemished character. Why then this grief? The battle is imminent. The clouds of war have gathered and are thundering. The foes in front are awaiting the moment when they can jump into the fray. They have heaped countless injustices and cruelties on you, and now they are ready to grab the land that must come to you as of right. So far you have borne all the agony they have poured over you, without stirring even an iota away from truth. You have fulfilled all the conditions they imposed, and you have passed through the years they prescribed for your exile. Your attempts to effect compromise were futile, and you cannot avoid the clash of arms. We have yielded as much as we could. Now war is the only method by which eyes of the evil-minded Duryodhana can be opened to his own iniquity.
Okay, Swami. Swami is referring to the chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita until the 11th sloka, until the 10th sloka. It is Arjuna who is mainly doing the talking, complaining about everything that he is facing. And from the 11th verse onwards, Krishna starts his treatment, as Swami says, and that's where the Bhagavad Gita starts. Then he, I think by that point, Arjuna has asked Krishna to tell him what to do. So that was the greatness of Arjuna. He still felt Krishna can help him. So he asked him, submits him. And then Krishna only till that point he's waiting. And when he submits, then Krishna starts. And then he's giving the reasons why he should fight. What's the reason for the war and so on. So I will stop here. I will open it up for any discussion, any thoughts anyone has.
Aaron, brother, this first paragraph, my understanding is the Arjuna moved to the tamas quality because of the delusion and the ignorance. So now, because of the tamas quality, he doesn't want to fight, he doesn't want to do anything, even though we taught everything. So now Lord Krishna has to teach him to move to the rajas quality, then only he can fight. That's what I can understand from the first paragraph. Thank you, Sairam.
Sairam, brother. Thank you. Thank you.
My understanding, in real life, every second, every milliseconds, we are making a decision in right and wrong, good and bad. And if we don't remember him, our Lord, to be in our mind constantly to make that, if we are not relying on him, then he will not come forth. As Brother Aruna, you said, our consciousness, God within us, is very subtle. He's there, he will guide you, but he won't push you. So are we aware of that consciousness all the time? So the lesson I am seeing is that we are making that right and wrong, but we have to confess, hey, Lord, you take over. I am just an instrument. And then Lord, take over your buddhi or your thinking. That's what I understand. Does it make sense? I have my own interpretation, sorry.
Thank you, sister. Thank you. That's what happens to all of us. All of us have our own interpretations, sister, so it's no different. Yes, Sister Aruna, you wanted to ask something?
No, this sentence, the first paragraph, third line, Krishna acting as a role of witness, okay, allow the despondency to deepen and darken. Why? Then only he will cause, then when it's the despondency, deepen and darken only, will call for God. That's why Krishna is allowing. I'm just asking to see what.
Anyone else has something to say?
My understanding, normally, the goat will test us, and in this case also, Lord Krishna would have helped him even in the very beginning stage, but he wanted to give a lesson to Arjuna. That's why he allowed the despondency to deepen and darken. When we put it in the the deep well, or the struggling for the breathing and everything, then only we will be enlightened. Otherwise, we will think that, okay, today it's not that bad, I can overcome this problem. for a moment I struggled, but I was able to survive. But Krishna wanted to give him a very deep lesson. This will happen. Then he came to rescue him. That sort of thing. Krishna allowed the despondency. To deepen and darken. Otherwise, we wouldn't learn at all. If someone didn't give us a proper lesson, we always, as parents, sometimes we will, we will put the children a punishment or go and sit in the corner. If within a minute or two, if it come back and play, they never ever. If you put them in the corner for 2-3 hours. Then they will learn something from that one. Maybe the same kind of rationale Lord Krishna has used to Arjuna, to struggle, as much as possible, to do everything, to puzzled, perturbed and everything, all kind of very last end. Then he said, okay, I will now rescue you. It happened to Draupadi too. He left her even the very last moment. Then Lord Krishna, rescued her, from that, embarrassing moment. So that sort of understanding, I got it from here.
Krishna wants us to confess and complete surrender to him. We can learn it from the story of Gajendra Moksha. When the elephant was caught by a crocodile, he was struggling and he was thinking that he can release himself by his own strength. When it did not take place, at last he called to Lord to come and help him. Same like Draupadi's story also. She thought she would protect her modesty, but it was not possible. When she left everything and then surrendered herself completely to the Lord, then Lord came and saved her. So this is the same thing. Krishna is allowing Arjuna to go to that extent where, complete despondency should take over him, and then it should deepen and it darkens him. He loses everything. When he says, I confess that I have lost everything, sense of right and wrong. Krishna, please come and help me and guide me. That is the type of surrender which he does. Samarpanam, complete samarpanam. When he's and doership, first of all, the doership, then I am going to do it. That kind of feeling should completely be wiped out of our psyche. That is the best thing what Krishna teaches us. Sairam.
Auntie, this deepen and darken, is there in the Telugu version I was reading?
Yeah.
I couldn't.
Yeah.
ఈ తమోగుణ
అర్జుననుకు పట్టిన తమోగుణం స్థితికి పరాకాష్ట. Parakashta is the ultimate.
Okay, I think that's the reason he's telling.
Pattina tamogunam. He says despondency instead of saying that, he says here tamas. Tamas took over him. It is the sthitiki parakashta. It takes him to the ultimate level of tamoguna. Yeah, that's it. Here one word I can't understand, Arun. ఈ అధ్యాయమున కృష్ణ పరమాత్మ ఏమాత్రము జోక్యము కలిగించుకొనలేను. What is జోక్యము?
I don't know. I didn't understand that.
I didn't understand that also. I think
we'll have to do some research. Yes.
Research, yeah.
So, Sairam brother, one more thing I like to add because of why tamoguna. If we take the guru and the disciple, we can divide it into 3 categories. One is when the guru says he will never think about anything, he will do the work.
Yeah.
The second person, he'll think and do it. The tamoguna people, they never do it in time, they make mistakes. So in this case, the Arjuna is behaving like a tamoguna. So now that Lord supposed to educate him. Thank you, Saira.
Sairam, brother. Thank you. Thank you.
So it's not like sitting in the altar every morning and saying, Swami, I offer, you are the doer and I'm an instrument. You have to really, really, truly, deeply surrender to him. Then only he will come and guide you. So it's not, in your words, sometimes we say, Swami, you are the doer, but do we really sincerely feel that way? I think that's what Arjuna, when he was really, Krishna allowed him to be really, to go to that level where he's urging that I can't do anything. I can't move without your guidance.
Thank you, sister. Thank you.
So, brother, this despondency is deepened, his attachment, and then the attachment went into, at the end, he was going through that despondency and he lost the thoughts. That's the way the sentence goes, right? Love, despondency, deepened and darkened because of he was, what is he's allowing to see on him, what is Arjuna was deeply thinking, and what he is lost in at the end. So he's thinking the relationship, possession, or killing, everything is maybe involved, right? For despondency, but in a good manner, a good feeling, but sad. Is that the one referring here? I'm trying to...
Isn't it despondency is losing hope and discouraged?
I thought it's a despondency, is a very frustrated, or in Tamil virakti or something, that's the meaning of
lose hope, like you have it.
Yeah, despondency.
I think, sister, others have answered. I think, deepen and darken, sometimes premature treatment is also not good. You have to wait for it to ripen nicely. If, then only you can treat it properly. That also, disease also sometimes, you want it to come to the right stage where you can remove the disease. So, even if you have to do some surgery, they will say the cataract has to, mature, ripen, then only they can do the surgery.
Okay.
So the doctor sometimes waits for the ideal situation, and when the patient submits, at that time they will, they will start the treatment. I think that's what Swami is. Parakashtam is.
Thank you. Yes.
Butti pordu in Tamil.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
That is it.
Parakashta, so when it comes to that stage. And I think Jokyamu auntie, he says risk or peril. So Jokyamu Kaligincha means he did not give any, auntie, you have to unmute.
Jokyamu Kaliginsukonaledu. He did not put himself into risk.
Exactly.
Yeah, that is it.
So Krishna
did not want to put himself into risk.
So he was waiting. He knew the right time he can enter. That's what Krishna does. He waits. He doesn't he doesn't risk trying to teach him earlier on. He's just waiting. He's waiting, and he waited for the right opportune moment to treat.
Right moment.
Yeah, because Arjuna had to surrender. He is going on complaining about this and that. He has not surrendered. So Krishna is waiting. Because if you try to give people advice before, when they are not interested in listening, they will just throw away the advice.
It goes as a waste.
Advice should never be given when not asked.
When not asked.
Okay, so Krishna waited.
Yes, now it's clear. Thank you so much.
Okay. So that's what I think. It's about 4:25.
So now we learn we shouldn't give anybody any advice unless otherwise if they asked us. They asked us,
So Sairam brother, even the advice, even Mahabharata thing, when the Duryodhana and Sakuni asked to play this game, and Dharmaraj, he never thought about Lord Krishna. He always think you are beside me, you are around me, and everything. He knows that he's going to doing a mistake there. That time he didn't think about Lord Krishna. If he thought about Lord Krishna, it would have not happened. Thank you, Sairam.
I guess Vinashakale Viprit Buddhi, what has to happen, the Buddhi becomes so, sorry.
Yeah, some of the things which Dharmaraja did, we can't even believe that he did.
Yeah.
But that's what happens with the company,
Yeah.
The company of people and what they say, and you become, even the best of persons can lose all the thinking faculty.
That's right. Because of Duryodhana, he believed the uncle Saguni, and they planned very well. So he believed on Saguni. He succeeded on the game. Thank you.
Yeah. So I think we'll pause here. It's 4:26. Enough food for thought for us to think, I guess, and we will come back next week to continue where we are leaving. Okay, so I think at this point I will just close with Samastaloka and Shanti if everyone is fine. Sai. Oh, Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sairam, everyone.
Thank you and
Sairam.
Sairam.
Sai Ram, Sai Ram.
Thank you.